Hello, I'm David Fee. I worked for Mecklenburg County's Youth and Family Services for 23 years until I retired in November of 2022. Here on June 1st, 2025, I would like to take you back to December 2004. Back then, Erskine Daniels was a peer of mine. We were both permanency planning supervisors, and I learned that Erskine was getting a new social worker. Her name was Afranie Faluki. I thought, boy, that's an interesting name. I bet this is an interesting person. And then I found out that Afranie was coming to me, not Erskine, and I thought, wow, even better. I remember the day that I met Afranie. Danette Smith was the leader of YFS in those days. She had an assembly at the Grady Cole Center on the CPCC campus where she addressed the troops, and at the conclusion I knew Afranie would be there. I had a chance to meet her. Well, back in those days, well, I should say currently, in the name of boosting skill and retention and that kind of thing, they are very deliberate about building a permanency planning social worker's caseload. But not so in those days. Afranie inherited the entire caseload of a departing social worker. So that was like 20-something kids, and Afranie was brand new to that aspect of the field. And it was just remarkable how she went in head first. She would get up and come to the office at like 4 in the morning and was just always on the go and determined to get it right. She often had this deer in the headlights look as she was scrambling to make sense of this really complicated stuff. And that just really impressed me. And then one thing that stood out pretty early on was that Afranie was very bold in her decision making. One example sticks with me from those early days, from that caseload she inherited. We had a teen mom whose toddler was already like 3 years old, even though she was only, 15 or 16. And she'd been given many chances and had not been successful. And I remember a teen meeting where someone said, well, I think we're all in agreement that we have to do whatever it takes to allow this mom to succeed. And Afranie said something along the lines of, no, we don't. This mom has proven that she can't do it. This child is the one who's suffering. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, no, you can't say that. You can't say that. But as was so often the case, Afranie was right. Other people were wrong. That was the pattern that stuck with me and her for the next 13 years as I supervised Afranie and we worked together. She and I didn't always see eye to eye, but I think that we were successful in making it work. Well, and I'll just point out that the world of permanency planning involves a lot of formal writing. And Afranie and I developed a system where she had enough trust in me and her that she would do the work and reach conclusions and hand it over to me, almost like a lump of clay on the potter's wheel. And then I would finesse it from there. I would check with her to make sure that my wording was the way she preferred. And I thought we had a really good system that way. I'm proud of the work that we did. It would take me a couple hours to tell all that I remember about Afranie, but I'll just stick with one more brief thought here, and that is she became our resident expert in cases of children originating from West Africa. There were more of those than you might expect, and she managed a bunch of them. And there was one in particular where she had to take a child back to his people in Ghana, which was her home country, and that was quite a trip. I will not tell you the story, but I'm going to ask that you seek Afranie out and ask her about the trials and tribulations of the trip to Ghana. In November of 2018, Afranie was ready for a change. She went to the adolescent team under a different supervisor. I followed her exploits from a distance. She seemed to be doing equally well there. Lastly, how about if I touch on Afranie's special relationship with the judges? I witnessed her in action in court countless times, She always succeeded. I'm sure she had a struggle here and there, but because she was able to speak with such confidence, more confidence than I had, and she never equivocated, the judges came to love her. I'm sure she's got stories to tell about her courtroom success. Why don't you ask her? So, here on June 1st, 2025, I say hats off to Afranie 24. No longer Faluki.